Part of lesson 5.2. We were adding and subtracting yesterday. We add and subtracted. We practiced multiplying with adding and subtracting. The one thing we didn't get to is simplifying fractions. So essentially dividing when there's adding and subtracting. And if you go back to part 2 and recall, remember we're not allowed to leave radicals, square roots, cube roots, any type of root in the denominator. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about how to rationalize. So what 2 days ago I talked about, we were trying to multiply a square root by itself or by something to get to a perfect square. When we have a sum or difference on the bottom, so something added or subtracted, it doesn't work quite that easily. And so here, to rationalize a denominator that has a binomial, so two terms, we're going to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. I mentioned that word yesterday because we multiplied a couple of conjugates on the front. A set of examples, 3 minus square root of 7 and 3 plus square root of 7. So when you multiply by the conjugate, it's keeping the same two terms. Traditionally, it's changing the middle sign. And here's the deal. As long as you change one of the signs, that's what makes it work. But traditionally, it's changing the middle sign to make it happen. So as we look at example A, it's 1 over 2 plus square root of 5. As it stands right now, there's no simplifying I can do. Okay? With that in mind, I need to get rid of that square root of 5 out of the denominator, though. And so this is a good example of where we're going to multiply by the conjugate. What's the conjugate of 2 plus square root of 5?
2 minus square root of 5.
Okay.
Oh.
Now, you guys know, if I multiply the denominator by 2 minus the square root of 5,
You have to multiply the numerator.
you have to multiply the numerator by 2 minus square root of 5. So we're multiplying the entire fraction by 2 minus square root of 5. In the numerator, what is 1 times 2 minus the square root of 5?
2 minus square root of 5.
All right, when you multiply by 1, it's just going to stay the same. You could think about distributing the 1 if you want, but denominator. How do I multiply 2 plus the square root of 5 and 2 minus the square root of 5?
Foil.
Okay.
Foil.
Distribute, whichever way you want to think about this. And so in the denominator, first 2 times 2 is 4. Outsides, 2 times minus square root of 5 is
Negative.
minus 2 square root of 5. Insides, square root of 5 times 2 plus 2 square root of 5. And last, square root of 5 times negative square root of 5.
Square root of 5. Negative square root of 25.
So we can say minus the square root of 25 if we want. From here, we need to clean up. If nothing else, there's got to be cleanup happening in that denominator. Because right now I still have radicals showing in the denominator. But what do we notice about this denominator? Okay, minus 2 square root of 5 plus 2 square root of 5. They cancel. That's 0. If they don't cancel, you made a mistake somewhere or you multiplied by something wrong. What about the square root of 25?
Oh, wait. Oh, they did last.
Square root of 25 is going to be, let's say, minus 5, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And the idea that square root of 5 times square root of 5, you can either say it's square root of 25, or could you go straight there and say square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5?
What?
Okay. Kind of like, I put it up purposely today.
What?
Square root of smiley face times square root of smiley face
I drew that. Equals smiley face. At the bottom.
equals smiley face. Because what happens when you multiply a radical by itself?
It's just the
It's the same thing, right?
Square root.
Okay, it's whatever was under the square root. So there you go. Square root of smiley face times square root of smiley face is smiley face. Just like square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. Okay? So, continue cleaning up. That was just a side note, sorry. We have 2 minus square root of 5. On the bottom, I have
4 minus 5.
4 minus 5.
That's -1.
Okay, we're not going to leave it as 4 minus 5. We're going to keep going.
Oh, you can keep going again. Can't you?
Yeah.
No.
We get it.
So now
That's what I have.
I have 2 minus square root of 5 all over -1.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I'm guessing Savas would count this wrong.
Yeah, probably.
You can't have a negative denominator. We talked about that one time.
One time.
Well, technically, I don't know. I'm not fully against you leaving a negative in the denominator, but here's the deal. Can everything divide by -1?
Yep.
Yeah. What's a positive 2 divided by -1?
-2.
-2. What is a negative square root of 5 divided by a -1? Positive square root of 5. So your final answer would be -2 plus square root of 5. Wowzers, I need to write that smaller.
Yeah. You went into beast. So
I did, didn't I? Wow. Let me, I don't know what I'm doing here. So -2 plus square root of 5. There we go. Got a little overzealous there somehow. Really caused it sound I wasn't paying attention. Okay, questions on this one? Gentlemen, let's stay focused. We have 2 problems. This is the time I need you to focus, please. Okay, B. 5 minus square root of 2 over 2 minus square root of 3. Thoughts?
Well, you can go ahead and multiply each by the denominator.
no, actually, you can multiply each by 2 plus the square root of 3.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking. I don't even know what I'm
Okay.
Look.
Remember, when there's
right here.
terms added and subtracted in the denominator, we're doing the conjugate of the denominator. So the conjugate of 2 minus square root of 3 is 2 plus square root of 3.
I never forgot about that.
What I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. Okay. So, difference this time? What do I have to do on top? We're going to distribute or FOIL this time on top, right? So there's just a little bit more work to do. Might have some more simplifying, we'll see. So, in the numerator, 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times square root of 3
5 square root.
plus 5 square root of 3. Negative square root of 2 times 2
-2 square root of 2.
minus 2 square root of 2. And minus square root of 2 times positive square root of 3.
-6.
Negative square root of 6.
Okay, minus square root of 6. Do remember, you can multiply any radicals you want,
Together.
as long as they're the same type of root.
Yeah.
Okay, denominator. Multiply also. 2 times 2, 4. 2 times square root of 3 plus 2 square root of 3. Minus square root of 3 times 2 minus 2 square root of 3. Minus square root of 3 times minus square root of 3. Or excuse me, minus square root of 3 times positive square root of 3.
Minus square root of 9.
Okay. Minus square root of 9. Or if you want, you could go ahead and make that
3.
3.
Minus 3.
Okay.
Alright.
Cleanup options. What happens in the numerator?
That looks good to me.
Okay, in the numerator, I have a whole number. I have a square root of 3. I have a square root of 2, and I have a square root of 6. Are any of those like terms?
No.
Can any of those simplify?
It's got to stay.
Okay, so my numerator is just that mess of 10 plus 5 square root of 3 minus 2 square root of 2 minus square root of 6.
Over.
Let's hope the denominator cleans up. 2 square root of 3 minus 2 square root of 3. There's your 0. We have 4 minus square root of 9, and that's 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So if you already wrote 1, that's good. Now, 10 plus 5 square root of 3 minus 2 square root of 2 minus square root of 6 all over 1. What do we know about something that is over 1?
It's just basically that.
It's that, right?
Right.
Is Savas going to let you put a denominator of 1?
Nope.
I doubt it. They're probably going to want to see 10 plus 5 square root of 3 minus 2 square root of 2 minus square root of 6. This time it's just a positive 1. So I don't have to change anything. I just keep all my signs the same. Okay. C, something I didn't do enough of yesterday, but I threw some X's in. Okay. Finding out based on what I'm seeing in the homework, I didn't throw enough X's in yesterday. I probably should have, but. Thoughts on C? Negative 4x over 1 minus square root of x.
Yeah, you're gonna multiply by 1 plus square root of x.
Okay. Multiplying by the conjugate, which is 1 plus square root of x. What you do to the denominator, we are doing to the numerator. How do I multiply my numerators? Yeah, you're going to take this negative 4x, and we're going to distribute.
I got this.
What is negative 4x times 1? Negative 4x. What is negative 4x times square root of x? Minus 4x square root of x. Okay? Over the denominator, we are distributing, foiling. 1 times 1? 1. 1 times square root of x plus square root of x. Insides, negative square root of x times 1 minus square root of x. And last, negative square root of x times positive square root of x.
X squared, square root of x squared.
Okay, one way to think about it is minus the square root of x squared. Or, what is the square root of x times the square root of x also? X.
X.
So you could go ahead and write x if you wanted. I don't care which way you to go there. But, okay, clean up.
You can't really clean up the numerator, right?
Okay, so that is a correct statement. We can't clean up the numerator. And here's the deal. If you're wanting to say, oh, but I subtract, or I put the 4x's together. This second 4x is attached to the square root of x. So they're not like terms. You've got just a plain 4x and a 4x square root of x. So they're not going together. Okay? They're just the numerator's going to stay as is for right now. What about my denominator?
It basically goes to all of that. Like that's like cancels.
Okay, square root of x minus square root of x cancels. And let's write out what we have left then. So let's see, on top, the numerator, negative 4x minus 4x square root of x. Denominator, we have what? 1 minus square root of x squared is x, yes? Because remember, to take the square root of x squared also, you divide by 2, right? Okay. Now, if this denominator was just an x, we could talk about canceling some x's. But since this is a 1 minus x, we're done right here. It stays this mess. Okay? Answers don't always look neat.
All right.
Okay. That finishes up our part 3 notes. You have homework in Savas to be working on.
Hi, Aaron.